Welcome to the Fire Family Collective podcast, the show dedicated to supporting the unsung heroes of the fire service, the wives, partners, and families who hold down the fort while their firefighters serve.
Hi, this is Heather. Thank you for joining the Fire Family Collective podcast. We have a guest today who grew up as a fire daughter and now is married to a firefighter, living a fire life. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, give us a little backstory.
Hi, I'm Kierra, and I grew up in the fire service, so my whole life my dad was a firefighter, and then I started dating my husband, and he was a Marine, and we did not want to live the Marine life with a family, so he transitioned into firefighting, and that's what we've been doing since. So I think it's been about 17, maybe it's been longer than that, 20 years maybe we've been in the fire service. So we did about 15 years in Southern California, and then we just recently, 5 years ago, moved to Tennessee.
So there's been a kind of a lot of shifts, but
Yeah.
almost the fire service is kind of what has kind of kept you guys steady in all of it.
Yeah, definitely. It was unique to have grown up in it and kind of know what it was like. And I'm changing careers, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of know what that is. And it's a very different world being a fire wife versus a daughter, but I think I learned a lot of things growing up that was helpful.
That's what I was like, I wonder what that was. And so did you have any influence, or your family have any influence of him wanting to be out of the Marines and being like, okay, this is like, how did that kind of come to play of that shift?
Well, he definitely wanted to be a career Marine, but when we were seriously dating, we kind of like made that shift from just dating and then seriously dating.
Yeah.
I don't think I can raise kids as a military wife. That's just like, I like companionship and I like being with you, and I don't want to raise kids by myself. So I feel like this isn't going to work for us if we're going to continue.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, let me see something else. Let me look into this. And he was going to school on the GI Bill, and then was like, okay, I'll try fire. We'll see what that's like. And he got into the fire academy and absolutely loved it. He said it was very similar to the brotherhood he felt in the Marines. So he thought, okay, well, let's ride this out and do it. And then as he finished that, we were going through some paperwork and found out that he had taken a test in the Marines when they were getting out about what civilian jobs would be good.
Yeah.
And EMS, ER, and firefighter were at the top of it. So he was like,
well, good. Validated. Validated all of it.
Yeah.
So what was it like? I am so curious because I don't come from a fire family, and now I'm raising my kids in it. And I'm like, how is this impacting my kids in ways that I'm not even, we're all trying our best.
Yeah.
What is it like growing up as a child of a firefighter?
That is such a good question. I think I see myself a lot in my kids, and I think it makes them a lot more resilient and kind of go with the flow, and they don't have to be on some kind of routine because it's like, oh, we're going this way. Dad isn't home. No, he is coming home. I don't know. He's gone for 3 weeks. Here's fire season. Yeah. I think that is really helpful. I definitely think that my kids are able to adapt a lot better to change of plans, which is something I personally as an adult struggle with, but I think that as a kid, that was just the way. So maybe I try now as an adult to hold on a little bit too tightly to my plans or to whatever we've made, but I'm always let down in it, so I don't know why I do that.
That's really interesting that as a kid you kind of were able to, I mean, they always say kids are so resilient, and maybe it's now you're like, okay, now I need some structure, and the reality is it's not. There's bones, but everything else is kind of up in the air of the changes. Is there anything that you normalized as a child that you now see differently?
Yes, absolutely. The thing that comes to mind is the almost moodiness that my dad would come home with, and not realizing as a child that it was probably job related.
Yeah.
But like coming home exhausted or having seen something that he didn't, that was out, that was a law or things like that. And I actually didn't realize that was it until when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I lived with him.
Okay.
And that teen I didn't live with him for quite a few years. My parents separated when I was 16. So from like 16 to like early 20s, I didn't live with him. And then I lived with him when I was in my young 20s and I was engaged. And that same kind of routine started happening. And I was like, oh, I didn't recognize that as a child. And I figured out in my 20s, if I asked him how he was and what had happened at work that night, it kind of dissolved it. He was able to release it. And so I kind of had made it a point. If I'm home when dad's home, I'm going to sit down and have coffee with him and just say, hey, how was your shift? Like, no pressure to
acknowledge like the elephant in the room.
That.
Almost.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And it really did like settle our day. And then at this time, my husband was training in the fire academy. I think he worked for the state at the time. And then relatively quickly, he started working actually for the same city that my dad was employed at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then I had realized.
They probably saw each other.
Yeah. They weren't allowed to be
at the same station.
But they could if it was overtime. So that was so interesting. Every time they worked overtime together, I was like, oh gosh, what are you guys coming? We ended up renting my dad's house, and he lived in a back house when we were first married. So we lived kind of in close quarters.
Even more.
Like, oh gosh, this is...
Your dad must really approve of him, right?
Yeah, he does.
What are some things that you like loved when you were a child about this life? Like, did you recognize the differences of your family as a fire family versus friends, or what are some things that were like some parts that you loved, or some more difficult parts, like maybe the holidays?
I actually have really fond memories of the holidays at the station. I thought it was so fun. He worked at a really busy house, and there was a lot of guys there, and all their families would come, and it just felt so fun. They even had Santa show up sometimes. So many of us, and they'd each like get a gift, and we had the Christmas parties and all of that. And I really enjoyed going over to other guys' houses when it was like a fire related thing, just like a hang or something, because it felt like we were all in the same. We all knew what everyone had kind of gone through and how we were living.
Yeah. There's
the lifestyle
connection.
So I really loved that. They also had a huge firemen's muster, they called, and it was a whole, like, it must have been cities from all over that came. And for whatever reason, my dad's city hosted it, and they did all kinds of competitions versus each city.
Oh,
it's really neat, and we loved it. Like one of the highlights of our summer, they'd like get all the kids wet with a fire hose, and then they had like competitions, kind of like tug of war, but with a fire hose, where they had to like push the team back with the power of it, just stuff like that. Just I think everyone coming together and doing things was relatable to other people.
Yeah, that's nice I think it's super important to have kind of that connection. So we kind of touched on this. You didn't really expect you'd be marrying a firefighter, or what? Like when you're growing up, you're like, I want this life. You're like, keep me away from it, and then you ended up back in it.
I don't think I necessarily didn't like said in my head I don't want to marry a firefighter. But looking back, I'm like, this is so bizarre. But also kind of makes sense because you follow what you're comfortable with. And learn. I can't even imagine being married to somebody that works 9 to 5. My husband got hurt a couple of times and had to do a 40-hour, and I was just like, this is so stressful. I can't do this. I can't have dinner ready. I can't have the house ready all the time. I can't. Too much. And he was like, I'm not expecting that. I was like, I do. It feels like that's what a 9 to 5 wife is supposed to do.
Yeah, my husband, he was on a light duty once and he had to do where he was working the 40-hour week and going. And I was like, I don't like this. You
It's
are
true.
gone 5 days, but it's not even 5 days in a row. You're coming home at night just to
Right.
go to sleep. I don't like this life. It's
Yeah.
funny how we get so just adapted
Mm-hmm.
to it. So how was being a daughter different than now a wife? Like, what differences do you see now?
Before we get back to the conversation, a quick favor. If you're enjoying the Fire Family Collective podcast, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps more firefighter families discover the show and strengthens our growing community. And if you're a firefighter wife or partner looking for connection, support, and people who truly understand this lifestyle, we'd love to have you join us inside the Fire Family Collective community. You'll find the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I think I definitely hold a lot more of the stresses of the job. Obviously my mom did as well because she was living what I'm living right now. And I didn't see that as a kid because I'm just seeing, my mom doing all the things moms do, and she just does it because that's what
an expectation we set when we're kids.
Right.
Like, that's just mom. That's everything she does.
Yeah. So I think understanding the gravity of it and how I just did a Firewife event and we were talking about how unique it is that our kids live in a 3-parent household, or what did we call it? It's like different sections. Like they live in a mom-led household and a mom and dad-led household, and then a dad-led on the rare occasions. But it's so rare it's just dad. But it's a different household when it's mom and dad.
Yeah.
And they have to be ready for that. They have to be ready to combat it and know what's happening, what's coming. And so I think recognizing that and understanding and giving the kids a lot of grace for coming in and realizing that something might be up and talking through that with them, explaining hey, I think dad had a hard night. Let's ask him, but also let's give him his space. Or, ooh, it feels like dad might need a nap today. We should probably make sure that happens. And making the kids aware that those are things that can help not only dad, but the family unit, how our whole family functions.
How they can positively impact and contribute in a way of, even if it is them letting dad take a rest or or checking in with him, those are different ways that we can all kind of contribute to work together. And it's showing them also that you guys are a family unit as a whole, especially when you are, like you said, coming to these households when dad's home. We're all we all need to work together,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's changed too. My kids are teenagers now, and so as we're little, those conversations, you're kind of letting it out loosely. How many we can let them hear, see, know, all of those things. But keeping it open so much. And so now it's pretty much free game as teenagers because we're trying to, put them into the world.
For the world.
And so those conversations look so different. And I think that the meaning of them is different too. When a 3-year-old is asking, hey, daddy, how was your day at work? Versus my 16-year-old son is saying, hey, dad, how was work? Are you okay? Is that's such a different meaning. It's so sweet and tender and caring from a 3-year-old. And while it is all those things from a 16-year-old, it's also is transitioning into a man-to-man conversation, which is just beautiful to watch.
I was going to say that seems so amazing. My son is only 10 right now, so he's not quite there. He's still on at the end of the really little kid years. I'm seeing that kind of disappear, but it's interesting to them. Wow, I'm envisioning what is his conversation going to be like with my husband when they are 16, and understanding, because it's like you said, we do have to kind of be careful of what we talk to our kids about and them understanding the risks of the job. And did you understand those risks when you were a kid? What
Not a chance. Not even close. I mean, I think I learned, so I don't know. Okay, this is going to sound terrible. I don't think I recognized or knew that they went on medical aids as often as they do. I think in my head as a kid, I thought fires and car accidents.
Yeah.
And I can only remember one story my dad told me when I was little of a call he went on. But I don't think I mean, maybe he did and the other ones didn't stick, but it was a car accident. And so I think in my mind, those are the things they did. And then when my husband's going to be an EMT and I'm like, well, this is a lot of medical. And we'd like go through, we went through flashcards after flashcards. So hours on hours. And I was like, I had no idea my dad knows all this stuff.
It was kind of like a reality hit you in the face moment of like a different understanding, different perspective and view of your dad.
Yeah, I think that's similar too for civilians. I don't think they understand how much firefighters do. I think most of them just think, because I know I've heard a lot of people are like, well, I called 911 and firefighters showed up. And we're like, but that's our world. We live in that all the time. You don't understand. Every single 911 call is fire also. I think that a lot of civilians think that too. So maybe I kind of had a civilian mindset as a kid.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's so interesting because I mean, I have conversations with like my really close friends and a lot of them are not fire wives. Ironically, their husbands do other jobs where they are gone for days. So they have that kind of similarity where they're home. They don't understand. And I like, there's times where they'll call me, we homeschool. And so, like, they also homeschool, and they're like, hey, do you want to meet up and do it? And I'm like, no, my husband just got off work for 72. He is exhausted. We're going to do family time. Like, we're prioritizing. And they totally get it. But it's, like, interesting because it's, like, it's almost like teaching them that it's more than just the fires, the once in a while fires.
That's so true. Something you just said made me think back to one of the other questions you asked about what I can't remember how you phrased it, but I think you said, what did I learn as a kid and how's it affected my family now? And one specific thing is that we knew we wanted to homeschool because I'm thinking like we have a specific on how we want our family to look and like the time we want and the amount of time that our kids would have to spend at school and not get to see him if he's home for 24 hours. They're going to get a few hours in the evening and then he's back to work. And we were just like, we want way more time than that. So for him, so kind of moving into homeschooling, it was like, that's so great. He can jump in school with me if we've got the capacity, or if he's just been gone, we can throw school out the window that day and be like, no, it's a daddy day and we'll catch up on Saturday. Or we'll, I mean, there's been so many times where he was stuck at the station. All the guys were out on fires and he was just covering at station. So we just go and have a whole homeschool day at the station because we just didn't see him for weeks or however much, whatever the holding pattern was at that time, and just bring all our schoolwork. And here we are. And then they have like 5 different teachers, which was so cool. Somebody's got a passion about something.
It's nice to have that break. And also it seems like sometimes they get so burnt out of listening to us that it's good for them to have a different teacher for the day.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. And my coworker's super hot, so.
Yeah. Breaking the HR rules over here. Was there, so I know that you were saying that you kind of didn't see, like, you're living kind of what your mom was going through and you're seeing it now. Was there a moment that you're like, I finally understand my mom, like that? Because you talked about how like the flashcards with your dad where you're like, oh wow, my dad knows it. Was there a moment where you're like, oh, I get my mom?
I think so. I don't remember if there's an exact moment, but I did just text her last week and I was like, how did you keep up on everything? How am I clean my baseboards? Like, where is it? I'm like running teenagers all over the place right now. And that's my life right now.
Uber.
Right. And I'm like, Mom, I'm looking at my house and I'm keeping up with like getting the floors done in the bathrooms, and the kids obviously help. But I'm like, how long has it been since I've cleaned under that dresser or couch or like how do you do this? And she was like, I don't know. I don't think I figured it out until you guys were gone. And then I was like, oh, I should probably clean those cobwebs because you just do what you can and then you give yourself grace in the other times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. All right, maybe that's what I gotta do.
What are some things that maybe you're intentionally doing differently than what you grew up? Like, were you homeschooled? Is that something maybe you're intentionally like bringing? What are some intentional changes?
I was not homeschooled. I feel like the homeschool culture when we were growing up was so different. And my mom ran her own business.
Okay.
Well, it was kind of a family business. We all kind of ran it, my dad included. And I don't see the time that she would have had the time for it. So that's definitely a huge change in that. I'm trying to think of what other things. We had the capacity for me to be able to stay home. And I don't know if they did or not at that. I don't know if they did or not at that time. So I think that was significantly more helpful because we didn't we still living in Southern California on one income is a really big, difficult. Yeah. So we still had a lot of cuts that we had to make and not be like, we didn't have to have the newest cars or those things just so that we could make it work. So I think that was slightly different because she did run her own business from inside our house. So she was there, but we knew she had to work and that was just what she had to do. So I think that was different, but I don't necessarily think that was because of how I grew up. It's just that I think my life just laid out a little bit different than her for how they set it up.
Are there any like traditions that you're like, we are doing this? Like we're keeping this?
Yes, I loved when we would get up early before my dad went to work for Christmas. That was like I loved getting up at 4 a.m. and getting to do Christmas, which probably I should ask my kids if they like that.
You're like, I loved it.
Yeah, so that's what we do sometimes.
Yeah.
And I actually really like the flexibility of not having to celebrate holidays on the actual day because we don't really need to. So it feels a little bit more freeing. Like birthdays, if dad's not home for your birthday, then it's okay. We could do it the next day or the day after or whatever is a little bit more convenient. And I actually think that has really helped. Maybe it's because I had to be used to that too growing up. And, but I wonder if that has helped my kids be flexible in other areas too. I don't know that I'll know that until they're 40 and, and reflecting back. But I do think that has probably been a significant, I had already kind of had the background of that. So it was easy to transition to that.
Yeah. It's not something that like you had these expectations from childhood of having to do the holidays on those days, and now it's shifted. It's something that you've kind of continued. What strengths have you gotten from all of this, from being what do you think has strengthened you through all of this into life?
I think I'm a lot more confident than I would have been doing things on my own and taking the kids places that I wouldn't have. Maybe I would have waited for him to be like available. So maybe if he was working a 9 to 5, like we'd only do it on weekends or something, but just having to go to the birthday parties that he's scheduled to work for other people's, or, there's a field trip this day, so I'm just going and doing it with them. Or even like, well, he's not here, so we're just going to go on a road trip. You're
almost like that independence and like knowing, like being empowered to do it yourself.
Yeah,
so you can do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it's not ideal, obviously you want him there for all of it, but
yes, when our family unit's complete, it's when it's ideal. I do think that I'm probably a little bit more confident in my parenting because of it too, because I don't have another choice. Like I just have to parent without him for days on end. And I was really hesitant. I didn't want to use we have to call your dad.
Yeah.
There was a handful of times as they were growing up and getting,
going
having more attitude and stuff like that. There's a handful of times that I've used that. And I think it was necessary. And I think it really did stand out to the kids. But in the other times, I do remember calling him and being like, I just need strength right now. I'm gonna push through this 3-year-old tantrum. I just need strength. And he's like, all right, you got this. Like, and then I
need a cheerleader right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't have the option of wait till your dad gets home.
So I want to hear all about your whole shift from California to Tennessee. What made you there? What led you there? What was that kind of shift?
That could get long-winded, so I'll try to make it concise, and then if you want details on it, you might even need to do a whole separate one for that, because I could get so many details of it.
We could probably schedule a separate one, but I want to hear a little bit at least now. Okay. Let's hear a teaser.
Okay. All right, sounds great. So we were in kind of the height of 2020, and just he was working so much. Anytime a crew had to go off, be quarantined, he had to work. Obviously, I mean, most of the people I think listening are California fire wives, so they understand what that was like, and it was grueling. It was so much. And he ended up getting shingles in the optical nerve from stress. So he went blind, and we were like, what is this? That's a whole story of how we like got to the point of figuring out what that was. But he came home from work with eye pain, and then 12 hours later he couldn't see. So that
must have been so scary.
We realized it was from stress, and so we he was obviously off work for that. So he was off for 3 months, which is the longest he'd ever been off, and he couldn't do 40-hour or anything. He just he literally sat on the couch in a corner with an eye mask on, so that the other eye didn't open, because as they were tracking, it was really, really painful. And his ears were sensitive, so the kids yelling, the kids screaming was a lot. And we were just like, okay, so do we need a career change? What is this? We don't know if your eyesight's coming back. We're not sure what's going on.
That must have been so like mentally and emotionally draining as a whole and as a family unit. Like, not like on him obviously a ton too, but then like that family dynamic that surrounds him too, of like what is going on. And it must have been so scary.
It was incredibly scared. And I think my son was 10. And I hadn't worked since he was born. So I'm like, do I need to come up with a career? Is this what's going to happen? What do I do after not working for 10 years now? And, so it was intense. So with a lot of prayer and a lot of people coming over and serving our family, I mean, his whole crew came and did the lawns once a week, every single week, and did it. And we had like our pastor come over, and we had just so much like, what does this look like? Well, he got his eyesight back and he began to heal. So then it was, okay, so can he go back to work? Is his eyesight going to come back enough? We don't know. Is there permanent damage? So we get to the end of the 3 months and he's able to go back to work, but now his, overtime bank is deficient. So as he gets back, now he's got to like get back to where, everybody's kind of equal in overtime. So he goes back his first day, and he was forced onto, I think, a 96. I think it was a 96. And we were like, whoa, that's
like, how can this happen? Did it cause from stress? And now we're going
and they were like, well,
into what the problem was.
Right. And they were like, well, if you're cleared for 100% to come back to work, then you're cleared for forced overtime. And we were like, well, that's accurate. And the doctor had tried like, well, can we put you on light, whatever? And he was like, well, the only way to do that is be on a computer. And the doctor was like, no, you can't be on a computer now while you're doing it. So we went back full time. He went to work for 96. He comes home and he only had 24 off before he had to be back. And I was like, how are you? Where are you at? And he's like, I'm okay. I'll sleep today and I'll go back. And he goes back and gets punched out for wildland fire.
Oh,
and I was just like, I cannot handle this.
You must have felt like your world was on fire. Like, exactly. You're like, you're going to fight these fires, but our world is on fire here at home.
Yeah, it's so true. So he's on a fire. He gets released from that fire, and on his way home, he gets sent out to another one. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm booking a trip to Tennessee. And we kind of talked a little bit about Tennessee. But most of the time it was him saying, let's move to Tennessee. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm born and raised SoCal. No way. Never will I leave the beach. Absolutely not. And his parents, I don't know, probably 6 years before had bought property out here and were building a house. So I was like, there's no way. Yeah. And then on that second strike team, I was like, I'm very interested, maybe.
Yeah.
So let's
You're
go.
like, maybe this was the push that needed to happen, the sign.
Yeah. So there was a lot of different things that happened. I told him I'm booking a trip for 2 weeks to Tennessee, and I'm going to get an Airbnb in the country and see if I can handle it. And I would really love if you're there with me, but if you can't, that's fine. We ended up shrinking it down. I think we ended up doing 10 days, but he was able to come, and we spent 5 of them on our own, just he and I. And then my mom met us here with the kids, and we spent a few days, and then came home and tried to think about what it would be. It was just a major change with giving up, like stopping his retirement, just so many things that we had to think through and pray through and make sure that we were making the right choice. And then ultimately, so that was in September is when we made our trip, and then we decided and sold our house and drove out of California on December 31st.
Oh,
so it was a whirlwind.
Like the last day of the year, you're like, okay.
Yeah. And then we arrived in Tennessee 6 days later into a snowstorm, and I was like, I hate this place. Back. I'm never
wrong choice. You're like,
I told you I
back.
That.
It's so funny.
So.
Let's go through. So, I have some like questions of like, what would you tell a brand new firewife? What's something you would tell her, or what's something that she should know from coming from the fire daughter that's now a firewife?
I think I would tell her not to take stuff personally. That the exhaustion and the mental load that they're carrying and how they come home, whatever attitude or whatever they have and that they're bringing home is not personally for her, against her or her kids or how she's running her home, that it's just the safe place that he comes home to, and he can just let all of that out.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, to have open communication where you guys are talking about that and making sure that you talk through it, and that we have this thing my husband says is he hangs his helmet. And so he'll come in and he's like mentally as he's driving home, he's taking off work brain and putting on home brain and doing that. And then he comes home and he just hangs his helmet on a literal hook. And he's like, okay, like that is there. And now I'm walking into the family, and I'm like making that transition. And sometimes it's not that easy. And he's like, hey, I'm going to just sit in a parking lot for 30 minutes in the car.
Yeah.
Transition that. And so like, I know I'm realizing like, I expect you to be home at this time, but I understand that you need
flexibility needs to be there as well. What would you say to like a mom who's kind of in the thick of it with her kids? Maybe she's got that 3-year-old crying, her husband's on the 96-hour shift, and she's wondering what is she doing with her life.
Yeah. I would say use your community, family resources, and let yourself take a break. Know that it's okay to say, hey, I just need somebody to come to the house for a few hours so I can just take a deep breath and go for a walk or go get coffee or whatever helps restore your soul. Because a mom running on fumes is not good for the kids, and it's not good for the marriage. It's not supporting either of those things. So I think that giving yourself the grace and allowing yourself to take time and lean on people that want to help and want to jump in with you. We don't have to have like we don't have to have this facade that shows we can handle it all, because we weren't built to do that.
Yeah, that's what I feel like every time I'm like, social media is fake, right? It's that highlight reel and the ideology, and it's what we want, but we need to come back to that we are humans. We need this connection, and especially with this fire life and how tough it is, and what our husbands are bringing home mentally and physically and emotionally. And then we have, they're gone, managing this house, like there needs to be that connection.
And we're taking that emotional load on also.
And you're not alone doing it, right? Like you're sitting there and your kid's crying, your 3-year-old's crying, and your husband's on a 96-hour shift. And it's so difficult and so isolating and so lonely, but we get through it,
Mm-hmm.
We find a way, we're strong, and we get through it.
Yeah, we're stronger than we think we are. In those low moments, you think you can't make it.
Yep. And that was like the quote that I had said online. It's my quote that gets me through every strong moment is that you've survived 100% of your hardest days. So every time I get to like where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, wait, I can. I've done this plenty of times. Like it's hard and it will pass. This too shall pass. Is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners, let them know, or?
I think that just as much as it's important to give him his space to rejuvenate and to give them and mom to take time to rejuvenate, I think it's just as important for the two of you to take time also. My husband and I are super passionate about first responder and firefighter and military marriages and pouring into them and like investing and helping them through those times. And I think the biggest thing is you get stuck in this rut of like, you're taking it personally, you're not able to talk it through, and then it just builds and builds and builds to where you don't take the time to have the conversations because you have a lot of hurt that you haven't expressed and the expectations that you expect each other to do. And when there isn't time for that, or even time for that connection with each other, you can't get past those. It's just not possible to do it when life just keeps pouring more on you. So I think it's just as important as being able to take time individually, where whatever it is, if it's 30 minutes on your drive home or it's an hour coffee break while he's working, it's also so important to pour into your marriage because that's the foundation of how this all works. And if that crumbles, this doesn't work.
Yep, that is so true. Is there any resources that you would recommend?
Oh my gosh,
your favorite book or someone?
Okay, so I love the book Fully Involved by Minda Oz.
Okay.
That's huge. I just did a Firewife event last year. I put it on for Firewives in Middle Tennessee, and she came and spoke at it, and and I've like read her. I mean, I've recommended her book for so long to people. She also just wrote one about retirement. So if there's
is that like specific fire? I haven't heard of that book yet. Okay.
Yeah, specifically for fire. So she grew up in the fire world and specifically for fire. Let me think what else. So my husband and I are in the process of starting a marriage coaching business that is specific for first responders. So that will get up and running soon too. So it's helpful. But I can't think of specific resources. I know that book is one of them that's huge. Okay. I would have to go back and look. There is an Instagram account that I've loved. I haven't been on Instagram in a couple of months though, so I can't remember the name of it, but I'll go back and look and maybe you can
Good for you for not being on social media, and maybe when we talk about the whole trip and changes of Tennessee, California, then we'll have that Instagram. Yeah. Okay. That sounds great. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for letting us not fire daughters know kind of what it is like growing up, and us now as mothers being able to like see someone so resilient in life and the strength that you're showing and you've told us through your story that kids can get through this, and kids are resilient, and we aren't making mistakes. We're all doing our best. And thank you to our listeners for listening. I hope everyone has a great day, and we will have Kierra back on soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Fire Family Collective podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please give us a positive rating in your podcast platform. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss future conversations, stories, and resources designed specifically for firefighter families. And if you're a firefighter wife or partner looking for support, encouragement, and connection with people who understand this unique lifestyle, we invite you to join the Fire Family Collective community. You'll find the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, you don't have to do fire life alone.